Okay, this is the first time I've ever done a movie, so forgive me if I get nervous and start rambling. I have a tendency to do that when I get nervous. But anyway, my friends have uh, asked me to do a movie for a while now, and I finally decided to give in and do it. And I think that it'd probably look better if I didn't wear these. Sorry. Anyway, you're probably wondering, if you're not one of my immediate friends, why I'm dressed like Edward Elric here. And that's pretty much just because my friends expect me to do that, because I used to cosplay a lot. And so I figured I'd humor them this time. But as far as what I wanted to talk about, I guess that I decided I would talk about alchemy this time around, because that's another thing that my friends kind of expect. And so I just figured the first video I ever did, I'd humor them a bit. Anyway, whenever I am, say, walking around wearing this, people will inevitably stop me, and they'll either point to my necklace here, or they'll point to the symbol on my back, which is the same symbol, and they'll ask me something about it. And of course I always answer them that it's an alchemy symbol, because I'm not sure how much they want to know. But of course, they usually ask me more than that, or something. And the funny thing is that hardly anybody really understands what alchemy is. I get people on one end of the spectrum who are familiar with Fullmetal Alchemist, and they think of alchemy as, drawing out transmutation circles to turn one thing into another. And then there are people on the other end of the spectrum who think that alchemy is those old crazy people who used to turn lead into gold. And so I figured that it wouldn't hurt to at least give a general description of what alchemy really is, just to educate people a little bit better about it without going into too much detail, because they can study to find that on their own. Basically, the way that I perceive alchemy, totally disregarding all the anime stuff, is a metaphor for perfection and purification of your being. The alchemists basically had three basic components that they were working with, and that was the body, the spirit, and the soul. Obviously, if you're talking about spiritually, this is self-explanatory, but if you are, say, wanting to work with something physical, like, say, plant matter, they would use those three terms as a metaphor for the things that they are trying to purify from the plant. Like, the body of the plant is actually the plant's salt, and then the soul of the plant would be the plant's essential oils, and the spirit of the plant would be the plant alcohol. And by extracting the three of those and then putting them back together, they could create some new substance, something pure. And if they did this properly and fermented it properly, this was actually the process they used, more or less, to create the Philosopher's Stone. Of course, I hear that it's very difficult to make it properly. I've never actually tried. But, they would take it through the 7-step fermentation process. And if it came out correctly, then it would supposedly be the Philosopher's Stone, though, as far as I know, the Philosopher's Stone doesn't have the kind of powers that the Fullmetal Alchemist series attributed to it. But it was meant for something. I still haven't quite figured that out. I know about all the legends and stuff like that. I haven't read about too many legends of once people had the Philosopher's Stone, what they did with it. They would oftentimes use it for making lead into gold or something like that. There are only a few legends of it. Everyone that claimed to have created the Philosopher's Stone disappeared shortly after they did it. So, as to what actually happens, I don't really know. I haven't studied enough in that arena yet. If any of you who are watching this video know a thing or two, feel free to comment and tell me things that I have wrong in this video, or things that I clearly am not sure of. I'm still studying. But it is a fascinating topic to me, and I figured that people should understand at least the basis of what alchemy is supposed to be. It's not a process of trying to turn one thing into another. It's a process of purification. And more than the physical purification, it is specifically meant to purify the spiritual self, the internal part of what makes you, you. It's just that a lot of people didn't quite get that, and that's why they never achieved a great status as an alchemist, or they would be charlatans or frauds or whatever you wanted to call them. And that's part of the reason that alchemy fell out of favor towards the last couple of centuries. But there have been great men in the past who have been very into alchemy, and they are still considered great today. Like Carl Jung, he was very into alchemy. Isaac Newton, believe it or not. Some people think that his laws trumped alchemy. No, they didn't. He was an alchemist himself. People just like to ignore alchemy nowadays because they're focused on things that can be scientifically tested and proven, which I don't fault them for. They need to understand certain things, and that's the best way to understand certain things. But there are certain things in life that can't really be tried and tested. Like if you take the aspect of emotions, emotions can't be tested under any scientific process, yet we still believe they exist. So there are many parts and aspects of life that have a different application than what science can do for us, even though some people would claim that certain things such as emotions or the mind can be tested, and they'll claim that has to do with psychology. But if anyone truly looks deep into the psychological realm, they will see that there are a lot of loopholes that the psychologists don't really understand. It's a growing study. It's not perfect yet either. Alchemy was never perfect. Psychology isn't perfect. Many other studies are not perfect. They are a growing realm. They require a lot of faith. But we need them all. Every study that mankind has ever had is something that is needed for our growth and survival. And so, with that, I think I will close for now, because I think that I've said everything I need to for my first video. So, if anyone has any questions or suggestions for future rants or something, feel free to suggest, and I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you.